You're listening to Mind, Body, Home with your host, Sara Ann. This weekend, I had the absolute pleasure of seeing Abraham Hicks live, and I have to say, it filled my cup. It was as if I received a spiritual injection that I was desperately needing. A few days prior to even booking my ticket, I knew that Esther Hicks was coming to Orlando, and then she was also going to be in Miami the following weekend, which is this coming weekend. And I was sort of toying around with, do I just go to Orlando, or do I, go a little further and go to Miami and make a weekend out of it? But I ended up just going to Orlando, which is about a 2-hour drive for me, and spent the day with Abraham. And a few days prior to that, as I was saying, before booking my ticket, I had a complete meltdown. I had an emotional breakdown or a breakthrough, I guess, maybe even, I don't know what, but it could have been a little bit of both. I guess we have to sort of break down in order to break through. And I was really taken aback by my sort of outburst. And actually, looking back retrospectively, it really didn't catch me by surprise, because I had felt emotions sort of brewing. I was extremely irritable. I was feeling a little resentful to others in the house. Just nobody was doing enough. I felt like I was doing too much. And the kids were, parenting was kind of challenging. I was being irritable with them. And granted, it was also sort of a hormonal week. I knew what phase I was in as far as that goes. And so, but it just felt heavier than usual. I was extremely more irritable than usual. And so many times I said to myself, you need to release these emotions. You need to figure out a way. And it wasn't even like figure it out. Like, I know the tools, right? My last coach called them anger alchemy sessions. Like, let the anger flow and alchemize it into love and tenderness. And I was so resistant to doing that. And it's sort of just, the human way. The human way is to resist, right? And, as I'm saying that, in the moment, I was not really conscious enough to take that action. So I let these emotions sort of brew for, I'd say, a good week and a half to 2 weeks. And then Wednesday night, I just sat down on the couch next to my husband, and I didn't even know it was coming out. I started bawling. I was blaming my business. My business is a failure. I've been doing nothing for the last year and a half, just totally beating myself up with my words. None of this is true, right? Like, it just emotionally needed to come out, and that is the way in which it came out. And I just kept going. I don't even remember, honestly, what else I said to my husband. I just was feeling like a complete failure. Not just at like the things, like I was saying, business, not just at those things, but then like shaming myself for even feeling that way. And this is, you guys, this is coming from someone who studies emotions, right? Like, this is like my passion project, like what I want to teach, what I want to help others. Anybody in my family who needs help moving their emotions, I'm good at helping them. But when it comes to our own emotional state or our own behaviors, our own thoughts, it's like we shut down, we forget everything we've ever known, or we resist it. And so this feeling of resistance was sort of my indicator that you just need to book your ticket and go see Abraham, because this is one of the things that Abraham talks about. And for anyone listening that doesn't know who Abraham Hicks is, I always sort of assume that people do. And I didn't even really realize that I was assuming until I had emailed someone and said, "Hey, I'm going to Abraham Hicks. I'm so excited." And they responded with, "Who's that?" And I was like, oh my gosh, like, I'm just assuming people know who these people are. And that's not true. And so Abraham Hicks is a spirit, a collective spirit who channels through a beautiful woman named Esther Hicks, and they have been channeling Abraham and touring the world for the last 30 some years. And Abraham Hicks was actually one of my first introductions into the law of attraction and a lot of my metaphysical study. And I have to say, I've gotten away from that a bit in recent years. And for whatever reason, I've sort of been coming back to it because there's such wisdom and guidance there. And what I found so fascinating about seeing her, because I seen her one other time in Philadelphia many, many years ago. It was probably, well, not many. I mean, it was like 8 years ago, I'd say. And I was still sort of fairly new to the content. And I was in a very early stage of my own personal development. And even though it was a really incredible experience, I was sort of more enraptured by, I can't believe I'm here. And this is so exciting, right? But then years later to see her again, it was the same excitement, but a very different experience because I have been studying so much and I have learned so much through my own self study that I heard things differently this time around. I've heard her talk about concepts like your point of attraction, what are you giving your focus to, how your emotional guidance system is programmed within you, and what are your preferences and what are your values, right? And so all these words and concepts started hitting me really differently this time, and in particular the concept of value and preference. That is the one that really started hitting me because as a business owner, it's really important to understand your greater why, why you're doing something that you're doing. It's important to understand if you want to be successful in life when it comes to your success, your self actualization, your financial success, your health success, right? The success of a well lived, balanced life is understanding what you value. Because if you have no understanding of the things you value in life, then you're just sort of living by default. And this is what I talk about when it comes to living life by design. It starts with understanding your values. And I've had some clients say, well, isn't it sort of the same thing as gratitude? And it is and it isn't. Gratitude is being grateful for what you have. Knowing what you value is the foundation of how you come to know what it is that you want to have. So, all in all, I had an amazing, amazing day. Everything that Esther and Abraham have provided just gave me that boost of momentum. She talks a lot about momentum, gave me my own boost of momentum to really start looking at my values, my bigger whys, my preferences, understanding my own emotional guidance system. And, for me, the lesson that week was you had the awareness. You had the awareness that something was off emotionally, but I chose in my humanness, I chose to not let it flow. And that awareness alone was enough to say to myself, okay, what's the resistance about? The resistance for me was not having clarity on my values. And, this has since forced me to sit down and rediscover what my values are because so much has changed in my life in the last year. And so it's no wonder that a lot of my values and goals and aspirations have completely changed. But I haven't taken time to identify them, define them. What is valuable to me now? Now that I'm in this place, what is valuable to me now? So it's important that we know what is important to us in order to have a fulfilling life or an abundant life. Because when we set intentions and we have a clear understanding of what we want based on our values, it's like we're then giving the universe permission to start putting together the people and the places and the ideas and the experiences that are going to bring about exactly what we're asking for. And so the emotional discomfort that I was experiencing that week when I broke down was the universe guiding me to say, hey, I don't know what to do for you right now. I know you want things, but it's not clear. So I'm going to sort of nudge you through emotions to get you to give me some direction here. That is how your emotional guidance system works. When you go to an Abraham workshop, you have the ability to ask questions. And there was a couple people who asked in slightly different ways about their passion. They didn't know what their passion was. They felt lost. They felt like something was empty inside of them. And this is where Abraham talks about that source, the creator, the universe has put this emotional guidance system inside you so that you know where you are. You know where you're vibrating, right? Are you low on the emotional scale if you are feeling listless and cannot define your passion? You know, you're living life, going through the motions, doing things that don't light you up. So you're vibrating low. And so when you can recognize that, that's when you can tap into your emotional guidance system and reach for emotions that feel better. Because when we feel better, then we can produce better thoughts. And so then you put yourself in a positive loop of thought, emotion, thought, emotion, behavior, right? And so you build yourself up through your body's intuitive language of emotion. And so hearing her ask these people who were feeling unfulfilled, didn't know what their passion was, how do I find my passion? She would ask them, well, what is passion to you? And everyone would try to explain it with logic. You know, they'd try to define passion. And that's not what she wanted to hear. She wanted to hear, what does passion feel like? And again, it still was, they couldn't articulate. And that's because we have underdeveloped emotional intelligence. And that for me was not only healing for me to hear from my own personal self and healing for my emotional outburst that I just had a few days prior, but it solidified for me, this is why I do the work that I do. Because everyone should know what passion feels like. And everyone should be providing and servicing and loving on each other with passion. And so it is my passion and my purpose to help myself and others understand their emotional guidance system. Because I think when we can fully integrate that, we can then do really wonderful things in work, in partnerships, in our creative expression, in how well we do financially, how healthy we physically are in our bodies. Understanding that this is why I'm here and how I wanted to be of service, I knew I needed to get serious about my own values if I want to be successful, internally successful, not what success looks like on the outside. So I started getting serious about my values. I got back and I started writing in my journal some of my values. And the first value that I had on my list was I value personal development. I value spiritual development. Like that is so important to me. And when I wrote it down, I knew it to be true because anytime my husband would say to me, like, what is it that you ultimately want to do? And I was like, I love personal development. If there's a way that I could enmesh development with what I'm doing now, and at the time it was interior design, that would be like the ultimate thing. And so with my own passion and my love for self-development, the universe delivered feng shui, and it was the perfect marriage. And then as design started fading, then I started, okay, well now I'm in that arena. I'm a feng shui practitioner, and now I want to take this deeper, and I want to understand people emotionally. I wanted to understand myself emotionally, and it was dealing through some of my own strong anger outbursts and causes of frustration and irritability and all of those sorts of things. And once I started understanding that, I started understanding how it sort of manifests in other people. And so I'm just slowly being guided to what is meant for me by following my emotions, by following my passions. So I want you to sit down and actually think about that for yourself. What is it that you value in your life? And let me give you a few more examples of what I wrote down. So the first thing, as I said, was I place a very high value on personal and spiritual development. I value time for reading and time for contemplation. I value slow Sunday mornings. I value the ability to be home for my kids. I value my friendships. I value quality food. And I value time to indulge in television. I value the freedom I have. I value that I'm not tied to an employer or have to travel to work. I value the fact that I work from home. I value my husband's opinion because it usually gives me a perspective I haven't thought of before. I value quiet mornings and walks with my dog. I value really great tasting espressos and my green smoothie in the morning. I value the fact that I only live 30 minutes from the beach and that I can go at almost any time I want. I value going out to dinner, especially indulging in seafood because it's something I'm really bad at cooking. So these are just examples of as you sit down and write your values. So I see this with financial stuff all the time, right? Of course, people want, more money in the bank or more flow of money or a better balance of spending and saving, right? These are some of the things that people will come to me with when we work together one-on-one. Finances are a huge one. So many times, though, nobody is placing a value on their life. And you can't, right? Like you can say you want money, but if you received it, do you even know what you would do with it? What would you even do with it? And this is why a lot of people go broke when they win the lottery because they have never sat down and figured out what is important to them. If you sat down and wrote out your values, like do this exercise. I have done this before. I have sat down as if I was just given $10 million. And the exercise was, how would I spend $10 million? And I got really clear. I mean, a lot of people say the obvious, oh, I'd pay off my house, I'd buy a new house, I'd buy new cars, I'd take the trip of a lifetime. That's all fine. People say that in lip service, but it's not going to be the same for every person when you place true value on it. Is buying a new house really of value to you? Do you see the value in the home you're living in now? Would you want to apply that money to something else because you already value your home? So if you were awarded that money, you need to know exactly how you're going to spend it, or you're going to spend from a misaligned emotional state. And that is what happens to so many people who come into large sums of money. If I was granted a large sum of money, I know exactly how I would spend it because I've done the work to spend it energetically. And from that state of knowing why I want the money and how I'd spend it, the universe is out there doing its thing. It's doing its thing. It's putting the people and the places and the circumstances into my experience. And I stand in that knowing that it's happening and it's coming, right? This is the work of the law of attraction. It is way more than thoughts become things. That's like step one. I was feeling bad that my business isn't where I want it to be in its fullest expression, but I'm getting there because I put it out there. I see it happening. But in my moment of feeling like a failure, I didn't see it. And so doing this exercise of what is valuable to me as a business owner helps me really isolate what it is I want in my business, and then standing in faith, knowing that it's coming. And when it comes, I'm ready for it. And so that's what we talk about, getting into the receiving mode of it, right? So many people kind of stop at step 1 and 2. Step 1 is, what is it that you want? You know what you want by the contrast exposed in your life, and you put it out there. Step 2 is the universe is already working on it. Step 3 is receiving, and we skip that step. We forget that that step exists. And so doing this exercise for me realized, wow, I'm achieving my goals, even though my ego thinks that I'm achieving them slowly and not quick enough for it. But I'm achieving them. And while I'm achieving them, I get quiet mornings when everybody's gone. I get to work from home. I don't have to deal with travel stress. I get to prepare my children's breakfast and drive them to school. I'm the one there to pick them up after school. So I'm already achieving in business because I have a high value on being there for my kids. So I hope that's starting to sort of pull together for you the meaning of value and how value drives your passions and your manifestations. So what I recommend doing is sitting with the very simple question of, what do I value? And if you are feeling stumped, last week I had done an episode on your home and the law of attraction, and there was a link for the Bagua map. And the Bagua map is just a manifestation tool. It's using your home as a manifestation tool to help you look at very particular areas of your life. What is it that needs a little extra support or needs a little more passion? Is it your finances? Is it the attention to your health? Is it your career? Is it your marriage or your lack of partnership? What needs that spark of passion? Use the Bagua map to help you isolate it, because just asking yourself, what do you value? That's too big of a question, and you're going to stop before you get started. So break it down into those pillars of life and pick 1 or 2 that you feel really called to answer the question to. You already know what's not working well for you, what's misaligned, what's out of balance, what feels like a frustration point for you. Pick 1 or 2 of those areas and really start to get clear on what value you place on that in your life in general. And then from there, just let the intuitive guidance flow. I've been in business going on 10 years, and I've heard people talk about value in various ways, and I never quite got it, but I really got it this time. And so now with Pluto stationing in a new planetary realm, and this is like a 20-year thing, you guys, this is serious. Remember what I said, there's things happening at much bigger energetic levels that we may or may not be aware of. The time is now to really get focused on what it is you do want. You can't know what it is you want until you understand what you value in your life. And from that place, you start to define what it is you want, and the universe can start its process of bringing it to you. That is the law of attraction. This is almost like law of attraction part 2, like the part 2 to last week. So take the time to do this. This is a really great place to start. This is actually where I start with my clients. So this is sort of my gift to you this week, is get started. Get started defining your values to help you define what it is you want. We've got a 20-year cycle coming up that is big. This is big. So bring your own energy and let the universe deliver to you. Until next week, I'm sending you so much love and gratitude.